Now we're going to look at possibly my favorite tool for looking at a company's financial performance. It's called a company's Z-score. If you turn to that next page in your handout, there's a brief narrative on the top of the page that describes the history behind this calculation, the Z-score. Essentially, Dr. Altman, back in the 1960s, was trying to figure out if there's a way to predict if a company is moving towards financial failure, bankruptcy. So he looked at hundreds of different companies that went bankrupt, studied their financials, and he found that there were 4 ratios that were most indicative of a company's financial performance. And you find those 4 ratios on the bottom there of that page. I think it's page 11, where you see A, B, C, and D. A, current assets minus current liabilities divided by total assets. B, retained earnings divided by total assets. C, operating profit divided by total assets. And D, equity divided by total liabilities. And then based on his research, he assigned a weight to each of these ratios. He found that each of these ratios had a different impact on a company's financial performance. So to take that into consideration, he came up with these different weights that he assigned to each ratio. So we calculate the ratio, multiply each ratio times a weight, add up the 4 ratios, and we arrive at a cumulative, a sum of what we call a company's Z-score. You see on the bottom of the page, it tells us that if that Z-score is between 0 and 1.09, the company is bankruptcy imminent. Well, you know what that means. We're in deep trouble. If the Z-score is between 1.1 and 2.8, we're questionable. We may be heading in the wrong direction. And then finally, if our Z-score is 2.8 or higher, we're okay. The higher the number, the higher the Z-score, the better. I've looked at lots of different companies' Z-scores, and I find that the average Z-score for a good company is typically between 5 and 10. Again, the higher the better. The highest I ever saw was one of my Vistage members. He was a general contractor, relatively small company, but he had a Z-score of 38, record number. And the primary reason for that is he was very liquid. He had over $1 million in the bank at all times. And that liquidity is one of the 4 ratios, caused that Z-score, almost inflated his Z-score, caused it to be maybe higher than you would typically have thought. But in his mind, that was a safe approach to managing his business. So what I'd like you to do is take the income statement, the balance sheet that we use to calculate all the different financial ratios, and use that information to calculate what is the Z-score for this company. What is the Z-score for this company? See what you come up with.